guy who knows a thing or two about playing linebacker, makes his BYU Sports Nation debut today. Former NFL player and BYU great Brady Poppinga. Brady, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here with you.
I want you to take us inside what the Poppinga family dinner is like. Let's say it's Sunday, you're around the table, it's football season. What is the conversation like at that moment?
Oh, it's pretty much all football talk. But I'll tell you what, because I'm in the middle of the three brothers, I have my older brother Casey and obviously my younger brother Kelly, outside backers coach there at BYU. And then my father, who tends to eat a lot too, I'm the guy that always has to just rush through my food and eat so fast. When I'm ever out eating with anybody else, they always comment how fast I eat, and that's because of those dinners that you're referring to. I used to have to eat so fast or else I wouldn't have eaten at all, and I would never have been able to gain enough weight to even play linebacker. This conversation wouldn't even have happened. So my point is it was a dog-eat world eating dinner with my brothers. You had to eat very fast or you would not have eaten.
What are those conversations like related to football, whether it be the NFL or college football?
Well, now it's fun because Kelly and I, we can talk a lot shop, because I know their defense extremely well, and they've actually taken a lot of what they do from defenses that I have run in the past. I sat down with Nick Howe, Kelly, a couple years ago when I was playing with the Green Bay Packers and shared with him a lot of the Dom Capers 34 defensive philosophy that they ended up implementing and seeing a lot of success with, and then they've taken obviously some other avenues and developed their defenses in other ways. But it's always fun to sit down with him and to learn about the kind of defensive schemes that they're implementing and ultimately about how they're tweaking their very successful and complex 34 defense that really the number one staple position in that defense is the outside backer type, which BYU over the years has tended to be able to recruit at a very high level.
At this point, how much coaching or advice do you give to Kelly after a game?
Well, there's been times when I'll try to text him during a game. There's like when they had Kyle Van Noy running down on kickoff once, and Kelly, he's a special teams coordinator, and Kyle was just beat because here they are playing nonstop defense because nobody huddles, and then you're having your best defensive player run down on kickoff. I just said, Kel, don't do it. And it's a waste of a very good player, and you're minimizing his impact on the game because I don't care who you are. There is not a defensive player out there that can go play as hard as they possibly can, especially in today's era where nobody huddles, and then run down on a kickoff and still be as effective as if you didn't run down on that kickoff. And so I texted the Kel, get that guy out of there. And he didn't. I mean, he doesn't look at his phone. He doesn't even care what I say. But, yeah, I'll type in every so often if I feel like I need to. Or there's times where his linebackers that I could tell from just watching, I know that guy's dropping just based off of his alignment. I know that guy's rushing. So I'll tell him, I'll say, hey, man, tell you guys to scoot up and always look like they're going to rush because you know what? If they're already going to be telling everybody what they're doing beforehand, it makes it really easy on the offense to be able to block up your guys. So little stuff like that I will for surely help him out with. And, I mean, whether he likes it or not, it's just something I can't control. It's just like, you know what? You see a problem, I got to help him out. It's like if he walked around with a booger hanging out of his nose, It's not like I'm going to sit there and let him walk around with that booger hanging out of his nose.
You got a bat in the cave, bro.
Yeah, it's like, man, you got something going on there, dude. And if he actually can't find a way to get it out himself, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to reach up there and help him out. That's just how we roll. Okay?
You're pounding on the door in the press box. Hey, blitz from this side, man.
That's serious brotherly love.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm serious. I'll text the guy, and now when I'm at the games, I try not to get to his grill at all because, yeah, that can be a little distracting for the guy. So, but I try to give as much feedback as I feel appropriate, and probably that annoys him a little bit, but I know at least a little of it will make it through the filter, and if that little does and it can be of help, then I feel like it's worth it.
I want to follow up on two things you've said that I've thought were really interesting. One, so if it were up to you, you would not have starters on defense involved on kickoffs. Is that what I heard correctly?
No, that's the simple. I would say this. It depends. If you have guys like, let's say a starter plays 50, 60% of the snaps, that's fine. But you get and let's say he's an inside backer, to where the nature of the position isn't one to where every single play he's engaging with a big 300-pound offensive or offensive lineman or offensive tackle, that or even a safety. I would even put some corners in there. Again, they're more nickelback guys. They're not full-time guys playing in the defense. yeah, that's fine. But when you get a full-time guy who's an outside rusher or even an inside rusher, and you're putting him on kickoff, you are wasting that guy. Just because having experienced it myself, that is one of the most physically demanding positions because every play, guys, other than the times you drop into coverage, which isn't the most, I mean, you're mostly rushing when you talk ratio between what your job responsibility is. And so you're either rushing or taking on this big offensive tackle or offensive guard if you're playing inside on every single down. And that just wears you down, and then you add on top of that, running down a kickoff or punt. Yeah, it's not smart. It puts a guy in position to get injured, but more importantly, what it does is not that getting injured is not important, but what for your defense, it minimizes the guy's ability because he's always gassed. He's not feeling fresh and really explosive.
Second thing, you mentioned the importance of the outside linebacker in Dom Capers' 3-4 defense. Broncos always mention, hey, this defense tailors to the Mike and the Buck in the middle. Is there a difference between what you're saying with the outsides and what Broncos saying with the insides?
Well, basically, it's not emphasis. And if you're saying it tailors to the Buck and the, I don't know who they call it. We call it the Mac and the Buck. I don't remember them. Mike Buck.
They call it Mike now.
No, they call him Mike. If you're saying emphasis and you're saying, okay, it all funnels to them, that's the case because you're setting the edge on the outside, meaning you're turning the ball back inside. So really the guys who should get the most amount of tackles should be your two inside guys. But what really makes that defense tick, meaning what makes that defense go, is the outside backers. And that's because they are the prominent position in that defense. Now, this year it's going to be a little different. As a matter of fact, they got Bronson playing what they call an elephant role, which is a really interesting role. Actually, last year, Julius Peppers of the Green Bay Packers is going to play that same role. And basically what he's doing is he's almost playing every single spot across the defensive line in addition to that outside backer position, which in essence is a hybrid defensive end position. So it is a defense to where if your outside backers are really good, your defense is going to be really good. If your outside backers are very average, your defense are going to be average, regardless of who you have in the middle, especially in today's era, where everybody's running spread, throwing the ball around. Those outside backers, at the very least, just have to be disruptive. And we saw that when you saw Kyle Van Noy playing as good as he did, like how good our defense was, and then or even Ezekiel. And then all of a sudden those two guys leave, and last year I understand there were some secondary issues, but still, the ability of those outside backers to get pressure, to disrupt offenses could have minimized some of even the secondary shortcomings. And that is where, in my opinion, how these defenses go when we talk about the 34.
Brady Poppinga, Super Bowl champion, former BYU standout linebacker, and now a guy who's making his way in the broadcast world on BYU Sports Nation. I want to bring up something you just told us about Bronson Kaufusi. With him in his hybrid defensive end position, you called it the elephant role, and him not being a linebacker, let's get to our Twitter question to get your response. Who will be the biggest standout for BYU at the linebacker position this year if Bronson is not there?
Well, he's still going to be outside backer. And basically, they're looking to make him to where he drops in coverage minimally, and that they match personnel grouping. So if they get a big physical personnel grouping, they're going to move him to the stand-up outside backer position to create a stronger edge. If they get in situations to where they're playing more finesse teams, they want to spread him out and use a lot more wide receivers, then they'll put him more down and inside and rush from the inside. And so when they're putting him out on the inside, that's where guys like Fred Warner and these other young outside backers are going to have to step up. And I know Fred Warner's coming off of a back injury, but he was a guy that, I looked at him, he looked a lot like a young Kyle Van Noy. Slippery, tough to block, made some plays. And so that's really the kind of guy that's going to have to step up and make it happen on that edge when Bronson goes down in the middle. Now, Bronson, he's got to show he can be the guy we all hoped he was. Because, he's played okay. And I'm not trying to put him on blast or anything, but the guy can be better. The guy can be great. He's been, I would say, a little bit underachieved was too strong, but he still can fulfill the potential that he has. When you look at his physical attributes and be a dominating, disruptive player, just like Ezekiel was, to where offenses just can't control the guy. And then that opens up everything for everybody else. So really, don't get overly focused on the outside backer. The honest truth is it's on Bronson to be the guy to make this defense tick depending on where they line him up this year.
That's quite the statement. And you're the only guy that I know that calls Ziggy Ansah Ezekiel.
Yeah, you know what? I like that name. Very biblical,
Yes.
Ezekiel. Yeah, I like it.
Super biblical. The last 15 years, the position that BYU's produced the most NFL players in is linebacker. What is it about that position in BYU that has yielded some success in the NFL?
Well, if you look at the majority of the guys that make up BYU football players, the majority of them are members of the faith, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A, B, majority of us come from the mountainous region, and for whatever reason, a lot of these that we call them combo. So, and basically, we're just the tweener combo, the 6'1" on the low end, the 6'5", 6'6" on the high end, 225 pounds on the low end, the 270 pounds on the high end. Those are guys that are very, I would say, there's a high likelihood those kind of guys living in the mountains and being members of the church, they're going to make their way to BYU. And those are all, by the way, the same type of body type that make up a tight end. So you look at probably offensively and defensively, the two prominent positions that BYU always will be able to find guys at, and that's tight end and linebacker. And so to me, that's because most of those guys, for some reason, are members of the church, and a lot of those guys find themselves in the mountains. And being that BYU obviously is a church-owned school, and in the mountains, they're going to have first dibs on many of those guys, myself included, back in 1998 when I was recruited to BYU, and guys like Brian Keel and David Nixon. You can go down the whole list of guys. Ezekiel even being one, being a member of the church, he's sort of an outlier. Kyle Van Noy, both in the sense that he was a member of the church and in that mountain region. So you can go down and pretty much either correlate them with being a member of the church or having them live, or either both having them live in the region and being a member of the church. All that goes into play of getting that kind of guy. And that's what I thought was so, I would say, strategic about Bronco going from his old school 3-3-5 defense to the 34 defense, was that he realized that he's always going to be able to get that 3-4 outside backer body type. And the best way to be able to accentuate that type of body type and obviously that kind of player is to implement a 34 as he's doing today. And that's why you've seen over the last 10 years, Bronco has led some of the greatest defenses in the history of BYU football. And that's because he's also maximizing that one talent on the defensive side, or that one body type that BYU has had a propensity to be able to get for years. Now, offensively, I don't know if they've done that as well. And I do believe that's because they've got a little bit of distracted with the spread and everything, but it looks like this year they're going to change that with these supposed Bash brothers. We'll see if, in fact, they are Bash brothers or not when the season starts off. But talking about two tight end sets, BYU has had the ability to be able to do that over the years offensively, but hasn't. And so if they can implement that more this year, I think you'll see them play a lot better.
Follow him on Twitter at Brady Poppinga. Brady, you're a part of the Fox Sports College football family, so now as a national analyst with a national microphone and being a BYU guy, what's your win-loss expectation for BYU in 2015? You like how I set that up?
Man. I don't know. Honestly, it's a tough one to look at. I mean, it can go either way. But, I mean, I'll give you more of this kind of, what's the word, a contingent one. I mean, here's the thing. Taysom has to stay healthy, period. But at the same time, they're still going to have to be able to run the ball with effectiveness. And if Taysom starts to feel pressure like, I got to be the guy to run the ball, now he's going to expose himself. As we've seen in history, and then this isn't just Taysom, this is just most quarterbacks. You run the ball, and you run it like he does, to where he's very physical, putting his shoulder down. I mean, you can throw running backs in here. You're going to have the likelihood of you getting hurt increases. So if he can become more of a pocket passer and pick and choose when he runs, and then when he runs, slides. I mean, BYU needs to go call their baseball coach and bring him in and teach Taysom how to slide and slide well. And then also be able to run out of bounds. Basically just tailor his game after Russell Wilson, who is the top running quarterback in the NFL this last year. And stay healthy, then you're looking at a potential big year. We're talking 10 years, 9-10 wins, 9-10 wins with him at the very least. But if he's out there banged up, they can't run the ball outside of him, and defensively is another contingency, too, to where if that secondary just keeps getting blown over the top, then it's going to be a long year. You're talking you're going to get lucky to get 6 games as in the win column. So it's lots hinging on the Taysom and his health, but a lot's going to hinge on their ability to run the ball outside of him. And then on the defensive side, a lot's hinging on that defense of being able to hold up against the deep pass, which, like I said, I threw the secondary out there, but really it comes down, to me, to both the secondary and the ability to get after the quarterback. So we'll see. It's either way from 6 wins all the way up to 10 wins, depending on those contingencies that I just explained.
It's going to be an exciting year, that's for sure. What are you doing to keep busy outside of your broadcasting career right now?
Well, yeah, I rep a product by the name of the UltraFlex, and it's an all-in-one workout device that you can do not only oscillation workouts with it, but you can do fitness workouts like bench, row, lat pull down, bicep curl, tricep curl, things of those natures, all in one compact, portable workout device that you can take with you anywhere. We're actually launching it on a home shopping network called Evine Live in the fall, and then also I've invented a power rack that BYU has in their facility right now for performance training and also just for the fitness enthusiasts. It's pretty revolutionary. It's got a braking system, so you're able to throw the barbell, and studies are showing as you're being able to train they call it ballistic training, and that's being able to throw mass into the air, and that's what my machine allows, performance trainers and athletes to be able to do. You're able to actually develop speed, power, and explosiveness at a higher rate. So as BYU implements my machine more into their workout program, look for them to be a little bit more explosive and fast than they have in years past.
There you go.
Brady, great stuff. We appreciate the time. I'm going to need you to be a little bit more gregarious and outgoing and have more energy moving forward in your life. Is that okay?
All right, man. I'll see what I can do about that. I'm not going to drink any of that caffeine. I'm going Red Bull way because it'll be like a big atomic explosion. But what I am going to continue to do is just be high on life, guys.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fair enough. Great to talk to you, man.
Great to talk to you guys, too. Have a good one.